How's it going, everyone? Nathan's DIY Garage, and today we're going to be talking about the top 10 stupidest things you could possibly do to your car. Okay, so the very first thing is hooking jumper cables or a jump pack up backwards on your battery. Every battery has a positive and negative marked on the battery. Don't go by the cable color only. That may not be the case. You must see the positive or negative marked on the battery before you hook your cables up. If you do that, you're going to either possibly fry the computer, you're going to cause other issues, hardtailing, or you could harm the car that you're jumping from, not only your car. The next thing is, don't run your car out of gas. If you run your car out of gas, you're asking for a fuel pump failure, fuel pump problems, or even sucking garbage up in your fuel system. Your filter isn't going to catch 100% of everything. Not only garbage, but if you have any water circulating at the bottom of your tank, it'll float around in a ball. As you get lower on gas, you're likely to get into that water and not cause damage, but it could leave you sitting for sure, especially if you have a diesel. Next one is run a car without antifreeze. If you run a car without antifreeze and only water, the antifreeze has a lubricant in it that keeps the aluminum engine parts from rusting. If you have plastic engine parts like a lot of the BMWs and the German stuff does, that'll keep those oil rings, that'll keep those seals from rotting. If you run water only in your car, you're not going to have that lubrication, and that will cause problems, possibly even a water pump premature failure. Also, the drawback of that is if you live in a cold climate like I do in the wintertime, if you forget that it has water only, it's going to freeze up, and then you will need a new engine, a new heater core, a new everything. So you definitely don't want to do that. The next thing is on oil filters, and I think I have an oil filter right here, and we'll just show you. There is a little ring on the oil filter. It's right here. Make sure if you're changing your oil, make sure that is not stuck to the engine block. When you take the oil filter off, make sure that ring is on the filter. That is just glued to this. A lot of guys will do that. Actually, when I was younger, I had to shop change the oil in a brand new car, and they took the old filter off, left the oil ring on the block, screwed the new filter on it, and what it did, it actually spun the new filter off, and needless to say, it started knocking and needed a new engine. The next biggest thing, and this is a personal pet peeve of mine, not checking the air in your tires. How many times have you been behind somebody on the highway and you can see that they visibly have a low tire? You can see the sidewalls bulging out. Or you'll be in a parking lot, people will be driving, parked in the parking lot, the tire's really low, almost flat, and they just hop in the car and take off. They probably have no idea. That is going to run your tires. That is also a very, very dangerous habit. Not checking the fluids. Not checking the fluids is a good way to have your car blow up. I mean, that's just all there is to it. You need to check your oil, you need to check your coolant. If your car is leaky, I would say once a week, once every 2 weeks, you need to kind of check everything out. Check your power steering fluid, check your levels of fluids in your car and your tires. You know, I would say at least give your tires a look over once every couple weeks, at least. If you run over something on the highway, when you get home, check your tires out, see if it's leaking. The next thing is, don't wait 100,000 miles to change spark plugs. A lot of manufacturers, like Kia and Hyundai, all those manufacturers say you can wait 100,000 miles before you change the spark plugs. If you do that, they're not going to come out of the engine without twisting off or take the threads from the cylinder head. And everything that I own, everything I've always done, around 40,000 miles is a good time to change spark plugs. By the time 40,000 miles comes around, your spark plugs are probably hurting your fuel economy, hurting your performance, and need to be changed out. The next biggest thing is never changing serpentine belts on a car, the engine belt, the accessory drive belt, as you will. By not changing that, by not at least inspecting it for cracks, for dry rot, for fraying, if you don't do that, you're going to be out and that's going to snap. You're going to be in bad trouble. Most cars, that drives the water pump or has some correlation to the water pump. Once that stops working, you're going to overheat, you're going to nuke the engine, and you're going to be walking. And I would say the last thing, actually I had two things to it. When checking your tires, make sure you use a good gauge to check those. Don't use the gauge that slides out. Don't use that. Go anywhere, get a digital gauge. They're a lot more accurate. The sliding gauges, after a while, do not work correctly. That could definitely cause a problem. I would say the final thing is, which would be number 10, always check the pavement for leaks. It's a real easy habit to get into. And I always tell everybody, take that skid plate off, it's gonna blow your engine up. You don't have to do that, that's your choice. Whenever you back out of a parking spot, what I do whenever you pull in the parking spot, if it's clean, when you back out, look at it. So you know it's clean pulling in, when you back up, look at it. You pull in the Walmart, somewhere like that, just keep your eyeballs open. If you do this, you're never gonna have engine failure. Well, unless you Florida everywhere you go. You're not as likely to have engine failure, and your car is gonna last you a lot longer. That's it, guys. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, share the video. Thanks for watching.